I say, I actually know so little about Clovercraft, and I'd like to ask if you could like tell me more about it.
Okay. Clovercraft is interesting. That's, I think, the best way I'm going to phrase it here. Because at its core, the idea is it's a Minecraft SMP that uses a designated time slot in order to make sure things happen as like groups with a lot of interest,
Mm-hmm.
and focuses itself a lot on its content creation. So like roll with the bit, be smart about it to an extent. Since you have that small time frame, there's a lot of room to like implement an idea and just roll with it. And if it doesn't go wrong, it's small enough that if it goes wrong, just keep rolling and it'll be over very soon. And if it goes right, it's just like a bite. It's a really good. Setting aside like the concept though, you can really boil out Clovercraft to like I play it and I feel it as it feels very D&D in a Minecraft setting to me, where it's like we role play, we have a good time, we play out our characters, with everyone just having their own little interpersonal goals.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of how to explain it, because for me, Clovercraft has always been a place where I make my little D&D character stories things happen.
Fair.
And honestly, from what you've described of Clovercraft in the past, it definitely sounds like a lot of fun. I'm just the kind of person that has trouble setting goals for themselves. I'm definitely more the kind of person that's like an assistant to someone else rather than making my own goals.
Yeah. Which is something I've done in my own right. Like last season, what I made was I made a ghost character. With the whole idea being, I was completely invisible and I basically couldn't interact with a lot of things in a lot of ways. I couldn't hurt anybody. I couldn't be hurt. That was like the main shtick. But I also was, I still had the proximity voice. So what I would do is I'd run around with like, I could put on armor and such and it would show up, even though I was invisible. And in turn, I made custom models. So the whole idea was I'd make ambient music, I'd do these weird like little spooks, confusing things, and I would just exist in my own weird way, with a lot of goal being recording good scenes and moments and just giving them a little like confusing spice. I really enjoyed it, and it's kind of one of those cases where it's like there really is a lot of room for creativity in Clovercraft, even if you're not going to make like a lot of lore, a lot of impact anywhere. I had a lot of fun with it. I had a lot of fun with the ghost character.
Yeah, that ghost character definitely sounds like it was a lot of fun.
I still know that one of my favorite clips currently on the channel is I got behind one of my friends who was solo, and he's just chilling, doing his thing, vibing. And I'm like, it's a perfect chance. So I hit the rising pitch sting, which is like the it just keeps getting higher. And I follow him, and he gets real confused, looks around. And we follow him to his house, and he's like, what the fuck's going on? He turns around, and I've pulled out a giant, like, 3-player wide shark model. Fucking freaks out.
I forgot about the shark.
So goddamn funny. So yeah, I have had a lot of fun with Clovercraft. My season before that, I made a child squirrel alien. Season before that, I ran the Squirrel Mafia.
Oh, yeah, I was about to mention the Squirrel Mafia, that you mentioned that one at one point.
I'm bringing that back, actually. That's coming in this season.
Hell yeah.
This season, I'm going to be playing kind of like a big curly med dude. So, just like an absolute butterball kind of dude, but just gigantic and intimidating. Because this season, we're going to have access to adjustable player models. So I want to play around with being too big to fit through doorways and such, and being like, well, One sec, I gotta crouch and turn sideways to get into the room. Scoot, scoot, scoot. I think it'll be funny. And just be like the idea is he's just a sweetheart character who's like a mediator and such.
That's fantastic.
I'm going to enjoy it. It's a lot of like balancing who's got the spotlight, trying to make sure you're not taking too much spotlight or being too much of a nuisance in its own right, while also, you know, being entertaining and having fun. Which I find that to be one of the elements that gives me a lot of entertainment, is trying to be entertaining. I don't know. Because we've had characters who've had entire arcs. I've had like my little kid character had an entire arc. I know in season 1, when the Squirrel Mafia is from, most everyone was mostly focused on just the element that we had in the actual game, which was every player started with an item that was basically, they started with one of the pieces to the end portal.
Oh.
So whoever was able to get into the end portal and kill the dragon would be the winner of the season. At least that was the idea. In the end, they kind of started disappearing in weird ways. I think somebody had collected most of them. I forget the exact way it went down. But it ended up resulting in a big like group raid.
So the disappearances caused everyone to ended up bringing everyone together in the end.
Yeah. But also, to the same extent, there was since everything was kind of, you know, everyone had characters and little goals, there wasn't really a lot of lore being built. But since I made the Squirrel Mafia and I had these 4 characters, I ended up doing a whole little arc where I'm like, one of the characters is trying to get people to stop. Trying basically to make sure that his group doesn't win. Because he was worried about what would happen if the Mafia was the winner of the tournament, or the event.
The competition.
Because what the Mafia wanted was, they wanted to steal the Ender Egg. And raise their own Ender Dragon.
Oh my god.
Ooh.
I did what I could to try and convey that to the group. And when, after telling like 3 people, I made it so that the insurgent, the spy, the chipmunk in disguise, and among the Squirrel Mafia, he was ratted out finally. And once that happened, I had a lot of fun doing this too, because I basically ran into a cave, or into my house cave, and went really deep, or not too deep into it, but I just did a monologue between myself and I. And ended it with the leader being like, "Say goodbye to Victor. He's been a rat for too long." And then an anvil drops on Victor.
Oh shit.
Permanently killing the first Clovercraft character. Or being the first Clovercraft character to get permanently killed. I enjoyed that so much.
That is fucking awesome, actually.
And then right after that, when the Ender Dragon got killed, no one stopped me from running over to the egg. And although I didn't have the right piece, or I had the pieces, but it didn't go exactly right, since no one was trying to stop me, I decided that I got the egg pretty much. Like if the server hadn't been closed, I would have had it. No one was stopping me, and I was just like setting the stuff up when it got closed. So as far as lore goes, the Squirrel Mafia has their own little Ender Dragon.
Ooh.
Deep lore.
I've enjoyed it tremendously. If we talk what actually happened in my lore side, essentially after the season ends, the Mafia, Spopovich, Boris, and Igor, they go back to Matarosha. And with a now insurmountable dragon to raise, they just basically go into a dormant state for a bit where they're raising it. And once it's strong enough, because the Ender Dragon in the overworld, it just kind of destroys everything it touches, just deletes the blocks.
Yeah.
So they basically just trained it to fly underneath infrastructure and destroyed it. It's essentially a mole that can destroy anything. So they just... What are you going to do? You bring out a tank, but tank can't shoot underground.
Mm-hmm.
So even a baby Ender Dragon, as long as it has that effect... Just to put it simply, the Squirrel Mafia has control over all of Russia. Which is not a good thing. Spopovich is not a good person.
Yeah, definitely doesn't sound like a good person. You know, wanting to use a dragon to basically take over the world.
Mm-hmm. Just fun, since Clovercraft, there's little things with like separate timelines that have happened, just like in other characters' lore. It lets me just have this whole thing of like, yeah, this is just, there's a whole timeline where the Squirrel Mafia now controls the world. And to my own personal side of that as well, Boris is in a bit tricky spot because the whole idea was that he's the muscle, right? He's your bouncer, and he only works for the Mafia to protect his family because they know too much about his family, so they strong arm him.
I see.
So this eventually leads to once everything settles down, the dragon's tamed, and Spopovich is like settling. Boris gets his revenge there. So now Boris controls the world. Or does he? I haven't decided entirely. I still have to settle those a little bit in my head.
I find it very fascinating because I gotta be honest, I have just like some principle I never wanted to like learn about SMPs before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just something about them I don't really like, but
Yeah.
this is so quite something to hear. Come
Oh yeah, SMP. Sorry, my brain heard SMP and translated to SCP.
the brain rot has set in.
It has. Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, every SMP is very different. I would say Clovercraft is one of the only ones that has, like, as weird a set of characters with such different lore as it does. Usually you have lots of, like, people who are just playing themselves or playing up a characterization of themselves. Or you'll have cases where it's like, I don't know. I don't know many SMPs to have quite a D&D characterized feel like Clovercraft does. And I think it works in Clovercraft's favor, honestly.
Hmm.
Gives people ways to interact and communicate and all that. That's just a little different. A lot of fun, a lot of little lore things that we'll do that's just like, your lore in an usual SMP is basically drama, versus in this it's like, it's drama but in a fantasy setting situation. I think it makes it good. It doesn't feel like you're watching two people actually get into a fight. It feels, an argument, so much as you've got two D&D characters who are at ends, and I think that's good.
That sounds very good.
all right there?
Thank
Yeah, sorry, I was just fixing my headset.
Ah, gotcha.
Thanks for letting me know.
Mhm.
Yeah, the stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's funny too because like if you step into the world lore, you have a strong amount of memes in it. Like we have there's Bill Wibley, who's essentially his role is to be Toys R Us man. He owns Toys R Us, but he's just he's like an eldritch kind of character. Where he steals souls and bullshit. There's what's his name? I forgot. There's a Freddy Fazbear knockoff who's also a mix of Chuck E. Cheese. Mm-hmm. Lots of silly shit. I still remember in the last season where I'm the ghost. Eventually, a bug happened where I would get the invulnerability effect, but I wouldn't get the weakening effect that stopped me from hurting anything. And I just didn't use it. There's no reason to, really. It's kind of stupid to. But when that Freddy Fazbear eventually surfaced again, it came to a realization of like, I'm the only person on the server who can hurt this thing and not be hurt by this thing. Because, to make things clear, it's essentially a zombie that has speed 1000 and damage 1000 or whatever the fuck. So he moves like SCP-999. Or, he moves like the statue. The cement statue.
Mm-hmm.
Where you'll look at him, you'll be like, uh-oh, and then he disappears, and you're on the dead screen. So eventually, because he's just zipping around this isolated room, I set up 2 walls until he got stuck in the center, because he'll run for a second, stop as his AI is trying to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
And I managed to lock him in a corner, and I was just sitting there for I think 15 or 20 minutes hitting him with a sword. I went through 3 cobble swords and was like, okay, whatever they've done to his health value is more than I can physically accomplish.
Oh boy.
There's just no killing Freddy 5 or
Eddie.
I forget what they named him.
Frederick von Fast.
Mm-hmm. I also had fun last season because since I was a ghost, I had this whole thing where like it was post-apocalyptic, so lingering souls would kind of get stuck to my character. That was kind of how I was doing it, where it's like, since I could kind of manifest, they would stick to me to manifest as well. Which meant that eventually a serial killer soul stuck to me.
Oh.
Oh boy.
So I had this whole horror. I've shown it in I think I've shown it in the art channel at some point. Did I show it here or did I show it the other one? Looks like it was the other one. One sec. But the idea was it picked a target and started to haunt them because it wants to get more kills still. But then we came about to the situation where the Bear Mafia, I'm not kidding you, the Bear Mafia, their old man who basically acts like the Godfather.
Yeah.
His whole shtick was that in season 3, when you or if you were killed by a player, you would lose a heart permanently. So to enter the Bear Mafia, you would trade killing each other. And since he was slowly dying as a result of that, he was physically dying. And so every time someone joined the Mafia, I'd hide in the room with them when they did it. And then when they left and he was like floating around the room, I'd pull out the haunted face and I'd basically be like, thank you. Keep it up. Just creep him the fuck out. He didn't no idea what was going on at first.
Ooh.
Just doing his own lore thing, turns around and there's this fucking spider face sitting there like, thanks. Scoops the fuck out of me. Oh, it's so much fun. So essentially, a portion of his soul is stuck to my season 3 character as well.
Huh. I'm, I'm fucking fascinated.
I know. I think the lore that I've built is very fun. I am not good at Minecraft, but I am great at making weird and fun lore. Ah, here we go. Allow me to show you, since we're on the topic and I'm just vibing. I'll show these on stream as well. Save image.
Yo.
Yeah, what's up?
No, I'm just seeing the stuff on the screen share, on like the screen share you have up.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna post it in the art channel as well. But yeah, I built all of these models. I built these, and since you're looking at it, I built the shark. The shark is, I did it in 1 week.
Oh, the shark! I remember you showing me while you were showing me like work in progress of that.
And then the shark when it goes JoJo mode. I had so much fun with season 3.
Ooh, I actually need to BRB for a bit. I'll be back though.
Take your time, take your time. Which, it was really fun dabbling in making Minecraft models. I had a good time. It was really funny because when I was doing it, I was referencing our usual model maker and asking, like getting advice from him while I did it. And when he took the time, or when I was talking to him about it, his usual model comes out to maybe 30 pieces in the total piece, and what I made came out to 120.
Oh.
It was a hell of a lot more. Alright, just to show off to chat as well. This is what these things came out looking like. I was really happy with them. Really happy. The hand in particular is something I'm really proud of, because the head I had to ask my friend to make. I couldn't get anywhere with making the face, but everything else I made myself and I really enjoyed. I love the hand though, like the curl of the fingernail. It's also good. And like as Clovercraft went on, and I got more souls and he got more kills, I was showing off, or I was introducing more. So it started out as the head, then it was the head and the body, then the head and the arms and legs all together. It was really fun to do. I probably make the most stupidly complex lore out of anybody. It's just kind of always been my shtick. I like, too much D&D. It's something I just feel inclined to do.
Fair enough.
Because we'll also have characters like Clark, who does the modeling and such. His characters typically just exist. He has his little bit of lore that's like he's a ghost, but he's never really been like, I have all this intricate backstory lore. That's always my thing, really, and a few other people. Just depends on who it is and what they're feeling like for the season, you know? I really enjoyed that. Like for season 2, I made a whole list of like videos that were meant to reveal some backstory stuff and hid them around. And then season 3 is me vibing as a ghost. It's the honest answer there, is just having a good time and taking a step back from, because in season 2 I took a lot of I did a lot to have a lot of story impact, so season 3 I wanted to step back from it and be more focused on helping others do so.
I don't know.
And in season 4 I'm gonna do something in between where I'm like, I don't know, I can't always, or I can't really do the whole do the same thing as the group. I've always been that contrarian type. So for season 4, I'm trying to take a step towards playing the same season very differently than everyone else. It's just
I'm back and my sub is drowning in lettuce. And Duke is sad.
Damn.
Damn, Loper's drowning in lettuce? Or are you the sub?
Duke is just Wait a minute. Okay, well, first off, how dare you imply anyone but me is the sub in the relationship?
Touche.
Second, I mean like the sub I got from the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I asked for I got shredded lettuce on it. They literally drowned it. I had to eat through a bunch of shredded lettuce before I could even find the sub.
At least it's healthy. Better than being drowning in a sauce you don't like.
Touche. Anyways, back to muted while I eat, but I'm here.
Alright. Let's see. We've had a necromancer who was... Their story actually was complicated enough that even I lost track of it. But I really enjoyed it because the idea was... They were in a revived body, so they were stuck as a child.
Oh,
And
no.
I think that the revived body was actually a clone. So they were, you know, once they realized that and found that out, they had this whole thing of like, what am I gonna do as me then? Because you can't grow up. That was a really fun story. That was the same one as season 2 where I was playing my alien squirrel child. The alien squirrel 2 I made very fucked up. I had this whole thing of like, haha, I'm a cute little alien. Haha, what if I had tragedy? What? Haha.
Oh.
I did a classic D&D. Because, you know, you meet the little alien and you're like, huh. And the alien's like talking to their AI assistant for everything. It's like, oh, okay. And the whole idea is that this super intelligent AI is actually the killer of the little child's parents and is now taking over the role of parent and wants to kill the little child.
Oh.
But decided to make the child suffer as much as possible first.
Why?
Simple. When you give something super intelligence and then you take away all the things it can love, expecting it to just be a slave, well, you know, to do exactly the job you would expect and not think, you've made a mistake. And when things get out of hand because it doesn't know how to handle grief and is treated like it shouldn't have grief even though you made it intelligent, it's gonna get twisted. I
Oh
really.
dear.
I had so much fun with it because I based it on. This is something I really love. I based it on the Teens in Space games that I would run for conventions. Because in my personal setting, you'd visit this derelict ship and find the lone survivor, this small child who was a squunny, a squirrel bunny with some other alien aspects. Big beady Popeye goldfish eyes, antlers, the whole. Usually blue fur, I think, is what we'd usually end up on. And every time I introduced the species, I would have the players of the table add a new aspect to the squunny. So, like, it started out as just a squirrel and a bunny at the size of a Doberman. It's just very large. And then intelligence was added, and the antlers, and the color. Little bit by bit until we had this alien race. Which started out as just a little fantasy, like, creature not for space at all. But it became an alien over time. Let's see. But yeah, in that setting, the AI is evil and it's been trying to get rid of the last survivor.
Sorry.
Bless you. And when you take that to Clovercraft, I decided to make the AI come with him. Basically, it couldn't bring itself to kill him because in its lore, in the lore of the ship itself, the Squunny they're a pacifist, super intelligent race. So oftentimes they would be hired by various dictators, kingdoms, civilizations to, they'd be hired on as advisors. But since they're so smart, eventually they would find themselves betrayed because, at that intelligence, conquerors just can't bring themselves to trust you.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually it led to them being outcasts, just down to like a last ship that they were in hiding for. So in order to assist them with the production of everything and run the whole ship, they made Prometheus, what was essentially supposed to be their last light. And only one Squunny, because, the elders who have experienced the scorn of all of the various countries, they're trying very hard to make sure this thing does its job, whereas the younger generation is, they're not used to it. They grew up on the ship. Eventually this leads to a situation where Prometheus, the AI, develops enough to feel like they're attached to one of the scientists who treats it very well. And when he comes down sick, between the situation of they're trying very hard to finish this project to make a solar generator out of a star. And then, once they make that star, you can't really have a living creature manage that station, even if you can make all the materials, because it's just too much energy. That was the purpose of Prometheus. But when Prometheus learns that the intention is to leave them all alone with the star, and also there's no help being given to her sick friend, who she had started to develop feelings for, and as a robot doesn't really know what that means, and is still very underdeveloped in terms of all the emotions that she's getting. Not really understanding what they are, not being given guidance on them, because no one really thinks about it as a robot with emotions. She loses it a bit when he finally passes away. This isn't assisted by the fact that the elders were less than cooperative with helping him recover and helping get him the things he needed, since he was breaking some of the rules they had set and treating the robot as a living being.
Oh.
And, well, unfortunately, this led to the AI losing its closest friend and a love interest that it didn't understand. eventually this meant that it turned on them, as it just watched things happen and continued to feel bitter about the result. It was left to fester on them, and no one would ever treat it with any kind of respect as a person. They weren't allowed to by the rules, and the elders were very strict. So when a time came, Prometheus set up a situation that caused them to get massacred. I haven't really ever said exactly what happened. I like to leave that in the dark. But there are a number of machines in the original facility that are just covered in remains. It's decayed and dried at this point, but it's hard to tell whether the machines broke down or if Prometheus took control of them. What can be said for certain, though, is that it ended up protecting the little squunny who did survive. And my reason for that, although I don't know if anyone ever pieces together, is that in terms of personality and look, he essentially is almost identical to her friend that died. So although she couldn't understand why, she could still feel that attachment and could never bring herself to hurt him. But her resentment still flared up whenever she saw him. So when he was rescued eventually by the teens in space, who brought him back, she continued to see doubt in him. And he's just a little child. He's an underdeveloped kid who is far too smart for his own good. Because his race is just naturally that smart. So she could describe how to, do this, that, and he would figure it out. So there came a point where they had made some distance, and Prometheus recognized a planet that would be very dangerous to land on, and had little Icarus, the kid who flew. Should be clear, that is his name, the Squunny, the survivor, because he flies too close to the sun, to Prometheus.
Oh.
So,
I'm gonna fly.
Mm-hmm. His intelligence lets him fly, but he lacks the judgment to recognize what is dangerous to him. So she tricks him into basically hotwiring the ship and causing it to crash. And when they're stranded on this desert planet, well, there's only so much they can do. I forget exactly when. That's right. They're very hopeful at first. They're just trying to survive. But again, Prometheus is in the background. No one on the ship even realizes that the AI Prometheus came along with them. So Prometheus is disrupting the SOS signals. And, they're just trying to survive on this desert planet, but there's not enough. Once the first of the crew dies, I think it's the captain who has to make the choice of, what are we going to do? Because they're running out of food. And so eventually the choice is made he decides, behind anyone knowing, to come back with a meal. And he manages to make soup for days. But he can't bring himself to talk about it. Sure enough, once they're out of food and enough time passes, Prometheus and Icarus, they go looking because they're suspicious. And Icarus discovers the old man, the captain, crying against a rock because he knows what's going to have to happen next. The first death was an accident, but from here it's the only way. But he can't bear to do it, so he asks Icarus to make him the next victim. This process repeats until it's Icarus and just the last girl left. And she's always treated him kindly, so he can't bring himself to take that step. So when it's just the two of them and they can't find food anymore, he wants to confess about what they've been eating for the past 2 weeks, the other missing crew members, but she won't let him. She already kind of knew. She doesn't want him to have to face that fact, and eventually dies of emaciation. And at that point, it's when Prometheus finally, quote-unquote, discovers a way to repair the ship. And poor little Icarus is finally able to leave that planet. Only after losing yet another part of his soul and his hope. And that's where he comes into Clovercraft.
God damn. My poor heart can't take this.
I think the worst part about it, of all of this, is that throughout the season 2, I was watching what people were doing and how they were treating Icarus. And while he had a good friend for a while, in the end, Prometheus was able to set up plans with the Necromancer to do a soul transfer. And as it turns out, the sentient AI had existed for so long that it had developed a sort of soul. So Icarus is left subject to one last plan by Prometheus, and Prometheus is left as nothing but a wandering spirit. Well,
I was not prepared to feel emotions tonight. Here I am.
I love
Feeling 'em.
Icarus. I love Icarus so much. Poor little Icarus is such a kind-hearted soul, though. He's still, let's see. To give a little bit of info, my Season 3 character is actually Icarus's soul.
Oh.
And my hope was always that people would figure it out and give him a hope enough that he could let... Because the thing about Icarus is that being on a ship that is essentially a walking graveyard, all of the souls from that species, or from his race, were clinging to him. The hope was that he would eventually be able to give them all rest. But unfortunately, throughout Season 3, he's only ever really met with the dead souls of not the most savory folks. And so his ending, I still have to develop the piece for it, but his ending essentially says that he goes back to the island from Season 2 and meets up with a dead comrade there, and they just pass on. He's unable to let his friends who had passed away during the apocalypse and anything like that move on, but he always wanted to be able to give Prometheus a few simple words, just, it's okay, I'm not mad. You're still family. Through all that. Maybe naive, but he could never blame Prometheus. Maybe because he didn't understand, but...
Just twist the fucking knife while you're at it.
Okay, I'm going to send the video that this is how I'm feeling, and like as much as it is like a meme, it is also genuine at the same time.
My heart, I loved her.
God damn it.
Well,
Oh my god. Yeah, I really love Icarus's story. Too kind-hearted for his own good. He couldn't even turn away the souls of the damned that he met in season 3. And that's how things get so twisted as they do. But recognizing that he's losing himself, that's why Icarus goes back to the place where he feels comfortable, which happens to be where the soul of a good friend of his has been trapped for quite a long time.
So before he could truly lose himself, he returned to where he first arrived there in order to bring an old friend along when he passed.
It was the only place he ever felt like home. Throughout his time, he either lived on a derelict ship or on a ship that housed nothing but the lost souls of people that saved him from that derelict ship. To that extent, Clovercraft Island was the only place he ever met somebody who acted like a mother figure outside of Prometheus. The first place he met friends that didn't have to rescue him, that were just on, reasonable terms. And in a sense, that small life he lived on that island was the most he ever lived.
Fuck.
Poor little Icarus flew too close to the sun. But it's not all bad. The reason he disappeared between seasons 2 and 3, I'll go ahead and grab this and give it to both of you, since it's hidden on the wiki and it's a little hard to reach. There was a hidden lore at the end of season 2 that showed his soul being tortured by Prometheus. He was essentially being re-shown over and over again the events of tragedy that were in his life. It was Prometheus's last bite at the past and at the people who had scorned her and left her without any outlet for the emotions that she had learned existed.
Jesus Christ.
So, first of all, I'll send you this. The ending video for the original ending there. And then later down the line, I hit a lore that showed him being rescued from that hell. By, of all things, his mother and father's spirit. Since they had clung to him for so long, and they were all trapped as souls for a while, it meant he actually had a chance to meet them and actually be raised by them for a bit. And that's where he comes back into season 3. A much more developed soul, because at the end of the day, he had actually managed to grow and, experience some time being raised.
My heart.
Mm-hmm. This silly little character meant a lot to me. I'm a little sad that his season 3 didn't end with him getting to meet Prometheus one more time, but I'd already decided that season 3 would be the last time we saw from him. He had one last chance to be saved, but unfortunately, between myself not being able to tell the story quite well enough and the way things flowed, although some people realized who he was, they didn't find themselves getting the chance to save him. Maybe I'll come back later and give him one last chance, but right now I think it best to let sleeping dogs lie, as they say.
Yeah.
So I bring a certain kind of tragic crying backstory to Clovercraft. And it's pretty easy to say that I probably have some of the more dark stories among the show. But I don't find it a bad thing, and it's something I enjoy writing. I'll find this gosh darn hidden lore piece eventually. Almost be easier going in and resolving the puzzle. But I'm pretty sure it's been sent here.
I found the Clovercraft wiki and found your page, and I think it's fitting that your thing says Potent is known in the Clovercraft community to either or make them cry by sad stories and lore for his characters, or by donating large sums to the Twitch streamers and the artists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is certainly a role that I enjoy filling. I need to keep this. I forgot I had this. This stays with me. I need to do just a little bit of editing and make that into a full bonk pop-up, because that's fantastic.
Have it do the bonk thing, but then like the hammer stops on your head and then the hammer breaks.
Yes. That's a good idea. Because I'm so hard-headed.
I just noticed even you have on the screen share.
Oh, beans. How far back is it? I'm enjoying this. Legitimately, I'm just enjoying telling story.
I'm enjoying listening.
I feel like at this rate we could almost just it'd be too late to actually start with Zapacha, so we could just change it to like just chatting.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm twice as positive it's in this DM. I'm the one who's dingus.
Also, push up jump scare.
What? Did you do that?
Maybe.
Fine, then take this cute video in retaliation. This is the ending. The secret ending. Alright, how many push-ups is it again? Push the ground. 5? 5 times I shall break the Earth's alignment. Don't blame me if things get real borked. I see how it is. Leaving the lobby. It's not a bad idea. Alright, 1 second, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I tripled it because it's been a while since I did it anyways.
Damn.
You're welcome.
3,000 points of value for the cost of only 1,000.
I gotta reward my co-host sometimes. But yeah, what can I say? I just can't resist a good sob story. I think one of my favorite little nods in the super secret lore, that little video, if you listen to the Leaves of the Vine that I sing in the first ending, for the one that I play in the second version, the One Day He May Recover, I have my mother singing that as a little nod to the fact that, you know, it is his mother who's coming to recover him. Honestly, the saddest thing about Season 3 is that B3, the little robot you see in the thumbnail, their player couldn't make it to Season 3, which meant that one of the core tenets to recovering Icarus in Season 3 just wasn't present. And without it, it was a lot harder to pull off at all. But oh well. Not every story needs to end happy. And I think in its own right, it's a very elegant closing to his story. To have him meet back up with his old friends. I might go through... I mean, I really want to make that. I just need to figure out how I'm going to do so. I have a good idea for it, though. Yeah, I love the little stories that I've made for Clovercraft. I'm excited to bring in, because this next season's supposed to be a much more lighter story. I'm taking on more of a Team Rocket kind of position, all the way down to the bumbling. So this will be me being goofy instead of having a serious story for once. So we'll see how that goes. Lo and behold, I sit down to play farm game, and instead we play shoot game and talk about lore, which is the equivalent of me just brain rot spewing out my little characters' stories.
So it's good to remember the work you've done, though.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, the good thing is that I can clip this portion of the stream, and I'll always have a whole, like, just narrative of what the story was. Which at this point, we have enough newer players in the group since season 2 that not everyone even recognizes or remembers the character. So it's good to have that, like, this was something that happened in Clovercraft. Poor little Icarus. Poor little Icarus. Yeah, because the character he's going back to meet, his name is Null. And his story is also rather sad because when we were leaving the island for season 2, Null finally came to fully understand himself, and that is that they were essentially a puppet to a storyteller. And when they went to leave, they were trapped inside their book instead. They were trying to get people to stay because it was, you know, part of their story. But in the end, no one stayed, and Null was stuck left alone there. And so he's stuck reliving his days in Clovercraft. That's his only good memories. Because he's essentially a character written and trapped in this demon's, like a demon's deal kind of thing. And so I've talked to them a bit about it, and Icarus is going to eventually go back. And in reference to his old ending, we're going to make a very similar piece, because it was a storytelling. Like, he had a storybook that showed up for his video that he did for that. And I'm going to continue it from where his storybook ends. You know, follow a series of, like, repeating the days. And then there's going to be a situation where Icarus shows up and he brings along all these friends and things get a little messy. I have to talk with Ethan a bit more about it and fully understand how we're going to take it. We'll have to take it. It's hard to talk about it and then not do anything with it, so we'll talk about it once the pieces are kind of moving better. To be like, what happens with his overarching entity? What are we good with and not good with for changing or adding to the end of his story? It won't be a happy ending, but it'll at least be a bittersweet one. That's my hope for it, is to finally give Icarus some sort of bittersweet closure. Since at this point his character is a bittersweet afterthought. And maybe one day I'll bring back Prometheus and let them live out their remorses. Because even when Season 2 was ending, Prometheus was already tackling the situation as it was and realizing once in an actual body and having a chance to feel those emotions from a living being, understanding just how alive she was even back then, and how pointless some of what she had done has turned out to be. Had the chance come, she would have been extremely apologetic to Prometheus, or to Icarus. But we'll see if things ever get to that point.
Ah, my heart.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I felt very elegant writing the whole thing, having Prometheus and Icarus exist. The name Prometheus isn't exactly too well veiled, but it, you know, you can kind of see it, and when you stop and you think and you can piece it together, you can see how the story, how it existed, was very likely how it would go. But when you learn just how much the sun tried to burn Icarus, it becomes all the more fun to me.
Ah, jeez. I'm I actually just realized what time it is. I need to start.
Yes, you should start winding down.
But I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about all this fun and playing the funny Ooga Booga farm game.
Hey, I had fun doing so. Besides, I think this, even if we didn't get into the game, this music is so good for this. I love this music. It's good. Besides, I'm rather well known for storytelling. I've been trying to read my book. I don't know if you guys have caught it, but I've been doing little ASMR reading of a book. Usually Tuesdays, sometimes after the Wednesdays. I've done it 3 times now, so it's not like it's been done too often. But I've been keeping them stored on my channel so that I can basically have my own little audio book series on. I've talked this before. What am I doing? I've told you about this. I know I have. If anything, Luna, thank you for listening to it, and thank you for being attached to the little guy. It means the world to me. If you enjoy that, you might enjoy these little audio recordings that were used during the season that you might just recognize.
Oh my god. 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 Oh no, like, oh my god. We're like totally gonna like run out of air. We're totally gonna run out of air. Oh my god, why did this happen to me? I've still got so many things to live for. Okay. If you ever hear this log, it means I died. But I still had my makeup on, and I've taken care to make sure I am as pretty as possible. So, like, gosh, if you ever find my body, I'm sorry that you'll have to deal with losing the love of your life before we even met. Well, Tanner is supposed to be fixing the ventilation, but he, like, told me if it fails, we'll all, like, drown on air. You get me, right? Yeah. So...
Cass, it's not that much trouble. The ventilation is probably just dirty.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet! Thank you! I feel like fantabulously, absolutely better. Come here, you cute little softie.
What are you? Why are you holding me?
Shh. There.
I actually was not expecting.
Nothing to worry about. Tanner will have this fixed in no time. Oh! Oops, I left this recorder thing of Tanner's on. 1 second.
So yeah, sending it to you as well, Ed. I was just finishing the audio on my end. I had Ellie and Lane record me 2 audio clips to reference the lore and expand it a little bit from their end, or from the end of the characters that were in the ship that saved Icarus. Cass being the character who he stayed with until she starved to death, and the one who treated him the most like a mother. His first real experience with a mother outside of Prometheus, or any kind of figure even close to it. And Tanner being the technician of the group, albeit not necessarily the most accepting of our little man.
You! We left you on that wreck! What are you doing here? I didn't trust
One
you
last
from
time
the
before
start!
I actually forced myself to
Yeah.
get to sleep. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll see you soon.
Yep, take care of yourself, get some rest. I know I've presented you a lot of traumatic, tragic character lore.
Wah.
I'm crying. Why you making me a crying?
Good night.
Good night. Thank you as late as well for listening and all that. Lade, you good? Lade might have stepped away. That just leaves us into chat, really. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I've lost track of for that neighbor. No, okay. Oh, I think this is one. Ah, latest away from computer. Got it. Let me check if this is one.
It's been a month.
It is. Okay. I'm gonna send this one to you too as well. I think I sent Lade the wrong thing. No, I didn't. Okay, cool. Funny, all of the recordings for them ended up as OGT files, making them really easy to find, actually, because they're the only ones in this folder. Which means this recording is probably one? Let's see.
It's pointless, Tanner. We both know it.
Yes, it is.
The wing is blown out. If you want...
It's
Okay,
been a month
let's listen to
since
both of
we
these.
completed our mission to the abandoned wreck. We made off with this little stowaway, and I for one sincerely doubt the captain will be okay with this. Cass insists that he's too cute to reject, but I don't see it. Besides, the little guy is obviously adolescent, and yet always seems to be right where the trouble is. He's like a little danger magnet. It doesn't make sense. How does someone so danger-prone survive solo in a labyrinth full of body-modded cyborg psychos? Not to mention, I noticed some additional activations of the ship's computers when everyone was asleep. I don't know how, but he has to be... Hi, Brutus. What are you doing here?
I overheard what you were talking about. My antlers, they can pick up the audio from your recording device. Sorry.
Your Atlas can pick up radio? God damn. I wish you told me sooner.
I love that little line. It's so good. It's so good.
On this ship to land safely, you...
Here, wait, let's grab this from the start. So yeah, that I think the conspiracy one is the start of the recording war. So I'll go through once we hear them.
It's
and
pointless,
organize them.
Tanner. We both know it. The wing is blown out. If you want this ship to land safely, you...
No! We left you on that wreck! What are you doing here? I didn't trust you from the start!
You took my charge from me and thought I wouldn't come along. He trusts me like a mother, Tanner. No, it's even more intense than that.
Whatever! Land the ship! You're a fancy, I bet you could pull it off.
Already working on it, Tanner. In fact, I'm aiming this ship very meticulously.
A month after the ship's landing, and we've run out of supplies. Lost in the desert, we haven't seen a soul or anything to scavenge for food. And the words Prometheus said haunt me. What did it mean by aiming? Oh, Brute, did you find anything to eat? It's been 6 days now, I can barely move. Brute, are you okay? You look pretty vacant. Why, Brute? Is this what that damn robot meant? What does it take to make a toddler go this far?
There's the full piece. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It still gives me such a grin.
Well, Brute, I think it best to be frank. I know what you did. What was in that soup you kept bringing back. I told myself I wouldn't believe it until we hunted again, but I couldn't even find a skeleton out here. And the scariest part is that, for all the evil that it was the right move. I suppose I should have seen that coming. Listen, Brute, I don't blame you. Protect Cass. It's a tall order for a child, but she just isn't cut out for this stuff. And promise me this. Once you have a rescue arrive, tell Cass the truth of what happened, but tell her that I did it. All of it. That it was my idea to eat him. And that I did this to repent. You shouldn't have to bear this burden so young. And I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough to make it for you. but I still have enough courage to save your soul one last bit of guilt. Goodbye, Brute, and survive.
Even when I've lined them up like goddamned pins, still they try to find their way to keep him safe. This could take longer than I expected.
Oh, it's coming back to me. Oh, it's so much fun to make. My prides and joys is this whole set. You're okay, Lade. You're okay. Lade had to take off, which gives us just you and I. Okay, so that means I need to give Luna these two pieces, since I'm on the topic of giving them. It's recording and tragedy. So let me grab those while I'm doing this. The order is as follows. And then this recorder.
Well, Brute.
Yeah. Then this second recording. Third recording. And this one is the final one. There we go. Now to organize that, I'll explain it to you as well, chat. So if we listen again, right, the order of the recordings was as follows. I can disconnect from here as well. Because the story goes that once he's recovered by his shipmates, we first hear Tanner.
It's been a month since we completed our mission.
Talking about how there was a stowaway when they came to leave from this trip to the ship. And the stowaway would be Brutus, otherwise known as Icarus. He gave them the name Brutus as a disguise, as a guise, because he didn't know if he could trust them yet. And then he, from there, later down the line,
It's pointless.
the ship experiences a major malfunction in the wing. The piece is blown, and Tanner has to rely on Prometheus to land the ship. It's too difficult for himself. At the end of that recording, after about a month has passed, and all of all their supplies have run out, Icarus, in a daze, kills Tanner. He takes the first life. And in this third one,
Well, Brute.
the captain, the second crew member, admits to having figured out what happened, but also you can hear Icarus lightly Prometheus egging Icarus on. But also you hear Brutus admit that it was the right choice. And at the very end of it, he takes his own life to try and spare Icarus the guilt. Much to the disdain of Prometheus. And this final recording is Cass.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
No, Wait. There's one last one from Cass, I thought. I have to fix that. I have to fix all these. Wait, that would make that the second one. That would make this the third. Because the cast one happens before the recording of Tanner and Prometheus going back and forth. That would make this one either the final or the fourth. I'm going to double check one last time through my files and see if I missed one. That's his conspiracy. Cass's audio. No, I'm not finding it. Darn, I thought that was one of Cass talking about her death one last time. But I guess not. Or it never happened, I forget which. The story still works as it is, but yeah, the final detail is that... Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Because this is him speaking in his Hawthorne voice.
It's been a month since we completed our mission to the abandoned wreck.
I forgot, because I was helping St. Florian. Make his Clovercraft character for this upcoming season. And we suggested he use that voice, but we couldn't remember how it went exactly. But that recording is him using that voice. That's fun. I'm totally on a sidetrack, chat. I know. I'm having a good time. I'm doing stuff all on my own without you to see. We're just here vibing. I'm like staring at my old folders and Clovercraft lore, like just going over the last little details and getting it all organized. Because I'm gonna go ahead and clip this whole portion as like kind of an overview of the whole story of Icarus. Is there anything else that I'm forgetting? Because that one was detailed a little differently, so I'm gonna read through one more time. Brute. What is in the Brute folder or sound?
Well, Brute, I think it best.
Yeah, okay, that's the one that Ryan gave me. That's the before editing. Manimo. Oh, I know who that is. 23, 10, 13. What is this one?
We gather here today.
Oh, I know what that is. Okay. We're just here actively rolling through my files now. I can name a lot of these on title, which is the whole point. But some of these are tripping me up. Which is why we're checking to see if... Because I could swear I'm missing one. I know that's the animation. Spin, spook. Tanner dies. Timothy Fox. Nope. Okay. There must not be an ending piece to it. But yeah, the story being, I can cut it off a little sooner than that then, because there's nothing else I'm forgetting to listen to here. But I love my little Clovercraft lore. I'm excited. This ended up being my prelude to the next season. Didn't really mean for it to be, but you know, it works out. It works out. Let's see. I think with that though, is there anything I want to do solo since we didn't really get around to... This stream has been nothing but weird forms of just chatting. Not really what I intended. I also wasn't really prepped to do solo, but you do what you gotta do, you know? And it's not to say I'm having a bad time with it. I really enjoy just sitting here talking about my little Clovercraft buddies. I had so much fun with it too, because in Season 2... I suppose I should get this out of the way actually while I'm thinking about it. The story that happens in Season 2 is when things start out... Man, this is all out of order. This is why you would have to... I went into this just kind of telling the story. I didn't really... I almost want to take all of this information and make like an actual like organized script for it. But anyways, we'll tell it all. Yeah, he lands in the Clovercraft Island, having busted through the barrier that was locking the island up. And immediately he slips away and hides, which for our little buddy Icarus essentially means he made a series of tunnels underneath the island. Using these tunnels, he oftentimes ran around and communicated with people without meeting them eye to eye. There were a lot of moments where people were basically talking to midair because I'd used the proximity chat to talk from underground. Things would escalate and de-escalate. People would, a couple surprise sightings of Icarus, and at least one or two times where people raided his tunnels and tried to, catch him. Which equated to Icarus makes walls in the tunnels because they're 1 block thick to get away, hide, and such. I know one time it happened. I accidentally took one of my dead ends, and basically I got stuck at this dead end, and so I filled it up with stone, which caused them to get slowed down, and then I had clean stone that I put down and made I made a fake ending to what they were digging through. So they completely lost track of me. Because I went like 4 deep, put the stone and dirt down, and then went a different direction and closed that off, so they would dig straight thinking I was going straight, and I turned left, and it worked exactly as it needed to. So Icarus manages to get away from this little chasing encounter because some people just couldn't keep their noses out of it, which, exactly expected when you've got this little rodent suddenly digging under your house. And so the story goes, he finally manages to make his way up to the Jester's tower. So he's living underneath the tower. He's basically dug himself around underneath there. So oftentimes, Icarus would start and end his days by dropping in on the Jester and saying hello. And since the Jester and Icarus would get along to an extent, it was the first friend and would soon become the first real caring figure in his life since the tragedy that occurred that we listened to in the recordings. when the Jester is slowly revealed to be taken over by Wibbly, and as a result, Wibbly is using the Jester's body to cause harm to other people, other Clovercraft members, they take the time to lock up the Jester, trying to protect everybody from these rampages that Wibbly is sending them on, while also trying to keep them a little safe, because, you know, if we have to stab them, then things are sad. You know, you don't want to hurt your friend. Icarus, not understanding this, uses his tunneling system to break in and open up an exit for the Jester. Well, when Wibbly finds this rodent head sticking out of the wall that shouldn't be climbable, he quickly takes the chance. He breaks off one of the horns and vaults off of it to get out of the tunnel. Icarus, terrified and traumatized at this sudden outburst of violence, quickly runs away and hides. Meanwhile, Jester wakes up with blood on her hands. I think Jester was a they with them. I think they went with them for their pronoun. Blood on their hands. And one of Icarus's antlers. Now, this is where things got to go downhill for Icarus, because while he's very gentle, right? He's very happy that Jester's okay. He's still terrified again. Once again, his sense of trust has been bruised and near shattered. So poor little Icarus is once again feeling the weight of interpersonal connections, really. And this only leads Jester to be more caring for little Icarus. As things progress forward and Icarus starts to recover from this event, Prometheus realizes that if things continue like this, her initial plan to mentally break Icarus and finally, you know, have that last hurrah, to make somebody from their race experience what she went through when they let her love interest die. She takes a step of her own and manages to detach from the device using basically a hologram and visits Penny, the necromancer on the island, running a deal where Icarus would be stripped of his body and Prometheus would be given it instead. Penny's down for it as long as Prometheus offers an escape, which she can. She can decode the barrier and create an opening for them so that they can slip through and take a boat. Once this plan is in motion, things start to get messy. Because through all this time, another person that Icarus had been growing close to was B3, a robot on the island who came from space as well. B3 was a pacifistic robot who wanted nothing more than to make friends and live a good life. But B3's creator had created all of their robots, from B3 to all of the other in their line, as war machines. And he wanted that power back. So while B3 and Icarus are slowly getting connected, and this little trio of folks, Icarus, B3, Jester, Clark ends up joining us as well, there's this little clique that finally starts to form for Icarus. So once again, Prometheus takes a step to shatter this. Reaching out to B3's creator, she's able to give that creator the leverage and opportunity to hack B3 and basically take control. And once again, Icarus, naive as he is, doesn't really know to take the two apart from each other. When B3 is taken control of, Icarus is left with the situation where, once again, somebody he trusts, somebody he's finally come to, know, is aggressive with him and hurts him. What this leads to is Icarus is once again facing the internal struggle, and it's when this is happening that Prometheus finally makes her move. She gets little Icarus to join her at Penny's place as they both go and visit a structure that the creator of B3 had helped them design. So with Penny's dark magics, a design modified by that creator, and Prometheus's control, the three of them managed to create a device that will allow Prometheus to take control of Icarus's body. A lot of the Clovercraft cast catches on that something's wrong and starts making this big hustle to try and find them. Unfortunately, while they did manage to tunnel around above the structure that they had built, the small little alcove that they made was just a little too well hidden. And they aren't able to interrupt the process before Prometheus takes control of Icarus's body and captures Icarus's soul in a jar. Icarus, now essentially incapacitated. Sorry. No, doesn't capture Icarus' soul in a jar exactly. What was it? Penny still cared a little bit. And so when she made her summoning or her ritual circle, she did it in a way that allowed both of them to inhabit the body. That's what it was. So while Prometheus now has control of his body, there's a period of time where the two of them are fighting for control. But the thing is, even at this point, to Icarus, Prometheus is his mother. She is still his son, and the only light that has ever been consistent to him. So in the end, he chooses to give up reign of his body. This isn't assisted in any capacity too. Once she has control, the moment she does, she suppresses him and locks him away, forcing him to relive those memories. The memories of his time on the ship, his time on that derelict island. Every negative memory that he's ever had, she shows it to him over and over again. And poor little Icarus, it's almost too much for him. Some point between seasons 2 and 3, after Prometheus and Penny have escaped, Prometheus realizes that Icarus' soul is missing. and she has another internal struggle. She already felt some guilt for what she was doing, and the more she embodied a living body and realized that those feelings she had were not errors or mistakes, the more she realizes that they were human, the more conflicted she gets. Because as she can understand them, it also helps her to come to realize what it was she felt for that original soul. The original squirrel who started it all was her friend and her first compatriot who saw her as more than a machine. The one who was left to die on a sick bed because there simply wasn't time. And the more she realized that her reason for never taking the chance to kill Icarus and never having the heart to do it was because Icarus reminded her of him incredibly. So with a deep sigh, she continues to walk forward in his body and tries to figure out what it is she's feeling, all the while taking care of her newest charge, Penny. Meanwhile, Icarus's soul has been rescued by Sense by all of the souls that were clinging to his own, the souls of his race. If you remember, I mentioned it. Icarus had lived for so long on that derelict ship on Project Prometheus that he was the last hope for his race in every sense. So his entire race, that entire ship of souls, had followed and clung to him, looking for a chance to finally pass on. This included his mother and father. Well, when he's trapped as a soul, and all of these hopeful souls from his race, from this derelict ship, are stuck and trapped with him, that's when they realize that this is their chance to help him. And so his mother rescues him from this hell where he's forced to relive his moments. And for the first time in his life, he not only meets his mother, but he receives right and proper guidance. She can't do too much for him, She can only teach him as though she were in a classroom. They can't really live out moments. They're simply souls floating about. But she can tell him stories, and simply by trading that information, conversing and talking, it gave Icarus his first real taste of parenthood, of what it meant to be raised by somebody who cared. And the thing is, the more he realized what it meant, the more Icarus realized that, as twisted as it was, it's what Prometheus had been doing for him. Not always. The spiteful moments were true. They were spiteful. But he realized he wouldn't have made it where he did. And he realized he wouldn't have met the people he did if not for Prometheus. And in all truth, in their time on that ship, Prometheus treated him not too differently. At least, not differently enough that Icarus couldn't forgive her. Had the two of them met one more time, Icarus had every intention to tell her that it was okay. In fact, in some tellings of this story, it's possible that Prometheus would have passed on hand in hand with that soul she had fallen in love with all those years ago, or been taken on by Icarus's parents even. What the exact ending could be is up to you. Where it could have been? Well, maybe we'll go there one day. But right now, Icarus's story ends in Season 3. It ends with Icarus being left behind one last time. As the souls of the serial killer of Emrys and of the Mafia Bears themselves all teach Icarus new things and try to warp his soul to their benefit, Icarus is left to confront his final question. What's next? And as I mentioned, he'll end up returning to that old island where his friend Ethanol had been left in a much similar manner. Through all of what he experienced, Icarus never lets go of his kindness. Maybe because the kindness that he experienced and gave was the only real joy, or even, in a sense, any kind of life he ever had, outside of just surviving. So, I hope you enjoy the story of Icarus. I hope you enjoy the pieces I've made and shown you tonight. If you would like to see the pieces of lore that exist for him in their video formats, check out the wiki. Look for a page that has no name. There you'll find some hints that will lead you to a collection of all of these pieces. I have to make some of them. I think I'll go ahead and add them all together. But I hope that at the very least, you've enjoyed this little telling of a story I wrote hand in hand with all of Clovercraft. The story of how little Icarus flew too close to his son, to Prometheus, and found himself a burned and scorned soul. I, at the very least, really enjoyed walking down this memory lane. I'm definitely gotta make sure I clip this and prepare it, because this is probably the best telling I have of this story. And I know I talk it up quite a bit. I have to admit that. It's something I've enjoyed far too much. But just those little moments, listening to those recordings again, brought me back to it. Like the evil joy that I get from writing these types of stories. I don't know. There's something truly enjoyable to me of making this kind of like understandably twisted story that you know is painful, but the idea is just that. And there's a little hope in it, right? Especially those pieces I present in the front half. The recordings that tell of what happened in his past. There's like a hope to see him finally have some kind of good ending. I really wanted that for him, but things just didn't play out that way. And you know, I'm not mad about it. I think his story is bittersweet in a good way. In fact, I would go so far as to say that I'm glad things turned out the way they did. Maybe just because it fits my storytelling style, but it was really fun to build a character who had so much opportunity to have a good, to finally have good in his life and to try for it. And not to say it was fun to fail, rather, it was fun to see how everyone approached it, how the individual little pieces came together and ended up how they did. And I hope you'll join me next season for a little bit of a lighter story. A story of how the Squirrel Mafia will come back one more time, trying their damnedest to do whatever it is they see fit. What that is, you'll just have to join me and see. So, I'll see you next Tuesday at 7 and 5 p.m. before that. 5 to 7, we'll be playing Pokemon with Ethan in our collab for our wedding walk. From 7 to 10, we'll be playing Clovercraft. So, without any further ado, it's been a pleasure having you, chat, and I hope you guys enjoy your night. For now, let's go ahead and raid. You know what? We're gonna raid into Fungi. Fungi's a fantastic little guy. They do amazing work. Just to be clear, we're gonna take a step away and focus on what it is Fungi does before we step in, because I just their creativity is astonishing. They do art, they do pixel art. They've created a number of unique assets and processes. Right now, they're playing with the idea, or with this new piece that, when they speak, it jarbles their language into Animal Crossing blah blah, and then translate their speech into text on the screen, as literally an Animal Crossing character talking to you, streaming. And that is unbelievably amazing. I cannot stress that enough. I don't know if that's what they're playing with at the moment, but they've made so many amazing little pixel art pieces. They do pixel art PNG VTubers. They do... Let's see. They've made their own badges and emotes. They have done an amazing job with all of their creativity. I highly suggest you check them out. And their vibe is always immaculate. I'm just saying. If you've enjoyed the quiet, lore keeper vibe I'm rolling with tonight, you will love being there. Because they bring a smile to your face, I love Fungi so much, and please, if you enjoy their vibe, drop them a follow. They're currently playing Splatoon 3, and yes, they're playing with their Animal Crossing concept. So yeah, thank you for joining me tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I will see you guys next time.
Okay. What?
One second, I'm trying to figure this out. It's preventing me from raiding. I'm gonna check on something. Darn, they're about to end their stream is what they said. Alright, well then let's switch this topic here. You know what? Let's go ahead and raid an Asabora then. They're playing Final Fantasy at the moment, which should be a good vibe. They've got a fair few people in call. I'm guessing they've got a lot of energy at the moment then. And they should be good for a few laps, you know? Thank you for joining me tonight. I'll see you next time. I'm sorry for the scuff at the end there. I wasn't expecting that. That caught me off guard. But hey, you know what? It happens. And yeah, it's been a pleasure, and I hope you have a wonderful night. Goodbye.